At 2200 hours local time on August 19, 2025, a Russian fuel convoy train rumbled through the occupied part of Zaporizhia Oblast in southern Ukraine, just outside the city of Tokmak, about 30 kilometers behind the front lines, but a critical lifeline for Moscow's invasion forces. The train, consisting of multiple cars loaded with fuel tanks for tanks, artillery, and logistics support, moved at a steady 40 kilometers per hour along the only railway branch in the occupied region, its crew checking GPS and signals, confident in their protected route patrolled by anti-drone nets and guards. This convoy, worth millions in military supplies, had run similar hauls dozens of times, evading detection through forested terrain and bypassing Western sanctions to keep Russia's war machine fueled. But Ukrainian intelligence had been monitoring it for days via satellite imagery from allies like Copernicus and OSINT tips from X-posts tracking Russian movements. Fighters from the Roniny drone unit of the 65th Mechanized Brigade waited for the perfect moment, and then struck with precision FPV drones, flipping cars and igniting a massive inferno that blocked the line for months. This wasn't an isolated hit. It was part of over 300 Ukrainian drone and sabotage attacks on Russian rail lines since August 2025, crippling logistics and forcing road reroutes. We're diving into this rail devastation, from intel setup and launch, through evasive flight and explosive impact, to the ongoing blockage starving Russian troops. If asymmetric warfare and supply chain chaos get your pulse racing, smash that like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and let's dissect this operation step by step. To grasp the full impact of this strike, we need to zoom out to Ukraine's relentless campaign against Russian rail infrastructure in 2025, which has seen over 300 drone and sabotage operations since early August alone, targeting key supply lines to disrupt ammunition,
fuel, and troop movements essential to Moscow's occupation. This particular attack on August 19 targeted a fuel convoy train near the occupied city of Tokmak in Zaporizhia Oblast, a strategic choke point as it's the only railway branch in that occupied sector, vital for shuttling supplies from Russia proper to frontline positions in southern Ukraine. Ukrainian forces, specifically the Roniny drone unit from the 65th Mechanized Brigade, had tracked the train's movements for days using a combination of Allied satellite reconnaissance from platforms like Copernicus and open-source intelligence gleaned from X-posts monitoring Russian logistics patterns. The SBU and GUR coordinated the op, identifying the convoy as a high-value target loaded with fuel tanks that could sustain tank battalions and artillery for weeks if delivered. The drones employed were battle-tested FPV models, compact quadcopters equipped with 10 kilograms shape-charge warheads for piercing armored train cars, high-resolution cameras for real-time targeting, and extended batteries allowing flights up to 1 hour at 150 kilometers per hour speeds. Each drone, costing under $5,000 to produce from commercial parts and smuggled tech, represented asymmetric warfare at its finest, pitting low-budget ingenuity against Russia's multi-billion-dollar supply chains. The launch sequence began at 2,315 from concealed positions near the de facto border in Free Zaporizhia. Convoy vector locked, drones away, echoed through headsets. Quad-rotor props whirred to life, lifting the swarm at a shallow 10-degree climb to conserve energy for the 50 kilometers infiltration over enemy territory. Operators in mobile command vans, equipped with VR headsets and multi-screen feeds, guided via jamming-resistant radio links, calculating paths to avoid known Russian patrols. Russia's own recent drone strikes on Ukrainian rail had heightened alerts but also diverted resources, creating openings for Ukraine's counterpunch. The swarm configuration was tactical,
leading decoys to trigger defenses, followed by warhead-armed FPVs for the kill. Navigation factored in night winds, terrain contours, and thermal camouflage to blend with ambient heat. 30 minutes airborne, the swarm neared the occupied border zone, maintaining a risky 5-meter altitude to exploit natural radar blind spots. Standard Russian arrays detecting 150 kilometers high go dark below 8 kilometers line of sight due to Earth's curvature, turning the landscape into a stealth corridor. But Russian defenses were on edge. Intrusion sensors triggered alerts in command posts as faint signatures appeared, prompting MiG-29 scrambles from nearby airfields. These jets, speeding at Mach 2 with R-77 missiles, consumed fuel rapidly, limiting pursuits to short radii. Tokmak's location strained but allowed brief intercepts. The lead drone operator, sweat beading in the van, executed a quick jink around trees, the UAV's gyros spinning from nearby EMP bursts. Inertial navigation engaged, accelerometers and optical cams provided fallback guidance, locking on landmarks like rail crossings or foliage patterns. Decoy drones took the heat, budget quadcopters exploding under Zu. 23mm fire from trackside posts, tracers carving the darkness in deadly patterns. Models forecasted 15 to 20% attrition from flak, but volume ensured primaries advanced. Deeper in at 0015, electronic warfare intensified. Portable jammers blasted 300 watts across control bands, degrading feeds to pixelated 360p. Autonomous mode ordered leads. Resilience kicked in. Frequency hopping cycled 128 channels per second in coded sequences, dodging blocks for continuous, if glitchy, control. A Panzer unit locked on, launching staggered missiles. Altitudes layered for kill zones, warheads with 150 tungsten fragments expanding. At 1,500 meters per second for 8 radii. Fuses pulsed for metal. Operator exploited 1.2 second arming safety. At 150 kilometers per hour, covering 50 meters to dive under, safeties preventing blasts. Leveling at 3 meters, drone undercut gun limits of -3 degrees. Twin cannons fired 4,000 rounds min in predictive boxes, but 3-second lags versus 1.5-second pivots outdated targeting. Spiral patterns wasted ammo. Checkpoints loomed. Guards, tipped via telegram, emerged with AK-74s, blasting at wines. At 5 am, drones navigated safety gaps, though 15% decoys fell to volleys. A Book system ambushed, decoys saturated scopes, erratic jinx disrupted Kalman forecasts. Algorithms for missiles failed against FPV agility. Night thermals blended +8 degrees Celsius motors with ground. By 0030, the train appeared, cars rolling, tarps over fuel, oblivious to doom. The pivotal moment struck at 0030 as the lead FPV drone aligned with the train's locomotive car, its operator in the command van fine-tuning the dive via VR headset for maximum impact on the engine block where fuel lines converged. Russian radar operators on nearby patrols scrambled, their screens overwhelmed with erratic low-level contacts that appeared and disappeared sporadically, fluctuating drone speeds between 100 and 150 kilometers per hour. Sabotage Doppler processing algorithms designed to separate aerial movers from ground clutter like foliage or rail vibrations. Both generated similar echo intensities, leading clutter filters, adapted from naval tech, to erroneously dismiss the threats as environmental artifacts. No full-scale alarms propagated through the convoy. The crew remained unaware until shadows flitted overhead. Defenses activated in panic. Train-mounted 7.62mm machine guns cycled rapidly from car roofs, but temporal physics betrayed them. The fast-approaching drones crossed firing arcs in 0.5 seconds, outstripping human focus tracking and aiming reflexes, resulting in shots at afterimages splashing into the dirt. PK-10 decoy launchers on escort vehicles ejected aluminum chaff clouds, blooming false echoes across radars. A tactic for missile confusion, but irrelevant to visually guided FPVs, who ignored the sparkles via camera feeds. Portable jammers pumped interference, degrading links to glitchy 360p, but frequency hopping maintained control through rapid channel shifts. Anti-drone nets strung along cars proved futile at close range. Dives slipped under. At 200 meters, manual override engaged, screens dominated by fuel cars. The first FPV impacted the locomotive, its 10 kilograms shaped charge exploding with the Monroe effect, compressing a copper cone into a hypersonic 7,000 meters per second plasma jet that sliced through armored plating like butter, severing fuel lines and electrical systems. The train's speed plummeted from 40 kilometers per hour to a grinding halt as internals shredded. Subsequent drones targeted cargo holds. Jets breached tanks, igniting high-pressure diesel sprays into arc fires. Safety valves failed, triggering a catastrophic chain among 1,000 tons of fuel and ammo. Cars derailed in sequence. flipping sideways in a twisted metal heap, fireballs towering 50 meters and illuminating the night. Shockwaves reverberated 5 kilometers, shattering nearby windows. Smoke plumes rose, visible on X posts from locals. Massive explosion near Tokmak. Train on fire, blocking everything. Crew escaped with minor injuries, but the railway was obliterated, tracks warped, sleepers splintered. Russian officials minimized. Technical derailment, no enemy action. Yet satellite evidence and leaks confirmed Ukrainian drone success. Convoy gutted, lines severed. By dawn on August 20th, the wreckage's scope crystallized. The derailed train near Tokmak remained a smoldering ruin, its flipped cars blocking the sole railway branch in occupied Zaporizhia for over 2 months, as reported by Euromaidan Press and confirmed by ongoing satellite imagery showing the site still uncleared into October 2025. Russian engineers scrambled with cranes and bulldozers, but the fused metal and exploded debris defied quick removal, forcing all rail traffic to halt and reroute via vulnerable roads prone to further attacks. Shortages cascaded immediately. Frontline units in southern Ukraine faced fuel rationing, delaying tank maneuvers and artillery resupplies, with convoys diverted hundreds of kilometers. This strike amplified the broader campaign's toll. Over 300 rail disruptions since August have paralyzed Russian logistics, compelling reliance on slower, costlier truck transports exposed to ambushes. The 65th Brigade's Ronini unit claimed victory via SBU channels. Enemy supply chains severed. Occupation weakened. Russian countermeasures intensified, adding more nets and jammers to trains, but the damage was done. War economy bled millions in lost cargo and repairs. The blockage persisted into October 2025, still obstructing the railway and forcing Russia to abandon rail resupplies in favor of convoys, increasing vulnerability to further strikes and escalating costs amid sanctions. Frontline morale dipped as fuel/ammo shortages bit, with reports of stalled offensives in Zaporizhia. This fit Ukraine's strategy. Over 300 rail attacks since August have disrupted 20% of Russian supply throughput, per SBU estimates, turning logistics into a quagmire. Asymmetric triumph. $5K drones destroying millions, exposing rail weaknesses. Ukraine's drone strike flipped a Russian fuel train, sparking chaos and blocking supplies for months, a masterstroke in rail warfare. If this fired you up, comment on potential countermeasures, subscribe for more, like and share. Bye for now.